See how fast the notifications go out on this one. Come here, baby. Come here, sweet pea. Say hello. Want to say hello? Hello. Yes, this is Bugs. And my other horse. This is Bugsy, though. Bugsy's not feeling very well, so I got to stay with her for a little while. But I thought it would be a good opportunity to check in with the team, see how everybody's doing. You can tell it's not our normal venue for chit chat. What's happened to, oh, there's Ogletree. There you are. And Whiskey to Dawn. Yo, what's up? Yes, they're having a committee meeting. But wanted to wish y'all a happy New Year. Didn't get a chance to do much in the way of Christmas or New Year stuff, holidays times, get very busy, and we actually went to Vegas and watched the Happy New Year celebrations there in Vegas. Hey Jeff, what's happening? And we had a great time. Saw Toto there in Vegas. Great show. They knocked it out. I got to meet Jeff Porcaro, who's the lead guitarist for Toto, and that was very exciting because I've been a big fan for a long time. Shout out to Compton Cop, Arnie Villarreal. There it is. Happy New Year to everybody. Starting off the new year on a good thing. I don't know how this new year is going to start for me because part of my reason I'm out in the stall right now is because I have a sick horse. Colic is a real thing when it comes to horse ownership, and that means that their stomachs get ingested and they can't go to the bathroom. And horses are just a big eating machine, so if they can't go to the bathroom, that's a problem. Anyway, but speaking of congestion and constipation, there's been a lot of constipation. I've been taking the last couple of days to just float around some of the YouTubers that are out there, and there's so much there. I don't even really know to where to begin or where to begin. Hey Jamar, what's happening? Happy New Year. But the one thing that I really wanted to talk about was there was a stream of kind of one website that then basically feeds off another website, and they all um, were repeating the same talking points. And it's really bad when those talking points suck. But in this particular case, one of the talking points was concerning the motion that was filed and the attorney's decision to have the trial delayed. And the reality of that situation is that these people were saying that the defense said there was a mountain of evidence. Well, and these websites ran off and just said, "Oh, that means it's a mountain of evidence against Keefe D." And the reality is that's not true. One of the things that many times prosecutors try to use. In fact, there's a whole TV show about it right now. They're called jailhouse calls, and they try to get a person that's arrested and put in jail. They try to get them on those jailhouse calls, and they've used those jailhouse calls actually in other cases against Keefe D. So they're clearly listening to his conversations, who he talks with, who he associates with. And there's, I want to say, close to 1,500 calls all by themselves, 1,500 calls, because he's been in jail for a while now. And the amazing thing about it is that the defense is expected to go through all of those calls and see if there's anything that's there. And shy of an army of people to do it, it's just going to take time. But the thing that got me, and the reason I wanted to speak up on it, was because it was clearly Not that the evidence was overwhelming against Keith Davis. It's just the evidence is overwhelming, and evidence is in. You've got a 27-year-old case file to go through and analyze, and you've got prior investigation like the Russ Poole investigation, where KVD gave a statement to Russ Poole. He also gave a proffer interview back in 1996 or 1997. All of this evidence has to be gone through. There's other evidence that the public hasn't seen that has to be gone through, and it's just, I mean, 30-year investigation. You can imagine how big that is, and the defense has to have time to go through. When they find something, they got to be able to research it and go through it and do all the stuff that they need to do to deal with it. But it is not, and I wanted to make it absolutely clear that the defense did not ask for a continuance because the volume of evidence against Keefe D is so substantial that these guys wanted to make it, oh, they got an airtight case, open and shut case, Keefe D's guilty, just because they said there was a lot of evidence. They completely misunderstand what's evidence means. Evidence can be exculpatory evidence. That means that it's evidence that shows you didn't do something. It could be witness testimony. It could be documents. It could be, newspaper clippings. I mean, anything could be evidence. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's evidence against the defendant. It's just evidence. Evidence, like, for example, shell casings are evidence, but shell casings are not, they don't paint a story one way or another. If they had fingerprints on them, they might, but if they're just shell casings, they're just shell casings. They're evidence, but it doesn't mean that the evidence is against any particular individual in this whole situation. So, I thought it was just rather odd that these people would try to assert a false narrative for clicks or whatever it is that they're doing it for, by making the insinuation that just because the attorneys for Davis said that there's just a mountain of evidence to go through, that means that there's a mountain of evidence against Keith Davis. And some of them came out and said that, oh, there's a mountain of evidence of Keith Davis against Keith Davis, and that's why they have to take so long, and that's why they're running, and horse shit. That's all. And speaking of horses, yeah, is that horse shit? Yeah, it is. Um, it's horseshit. So, to the knuckleheads and to those who care, it's certainly worth discussing, worth mentioning. So, wanted to just get that out there to you guys. Didn't have a whole lot to talk about. The Diddy documentary is starting to lose steam now. And by the way, lawsuits will follow. I mean, that documentary comes out, they probably won't go to court. There'll probably be settlements with the insurance company, the E&O company, and all that you buy that insurance for. But there's going to be lawsuits off it. Believe me. But how you doing, Bugsy? Okay. This is, for everybody that hasn't joined on yet, this is Bugsy. This is Bugsy. Bugsy is my horse, one of them. But this is my horse. Bugsy is my horse. This is the horse that I ride. When you see pictures of me riding, this is the horse I'm riding right here. And she don't feel well right now. She doesn't feel good. So part of the responsibility of horse ownership, or any kind of ownership or parenting or any of that, is to be here not just for the good times, but to be here for the not so good times. And right now, Bugsy's not having a so good time. We'll see. We'll see. Colic is a very serious condition with a horse. There's really nothing you can do about it. It's more prevalent. Sand colic is more prevalent in LA, Southern California, desert regions, Palmdale, Arizona, New Mexico. You keep horses and they get sand when they eat when they eat the hay that's on the ground, and then they always pull it out of the feed bags. You could hang a feed bag, but they pull it out because horses forage on the ground. That's what they do. So they put it on the ground, but in states where there's a lot of sand and not good soil, the horses, because they use their lips to rake up the hay, they get sand in it and they swallow the sand. And so, like Bugsy, horses like that, they get a lot of sand in their belly. And if you could imagine what it would be like if you had sand in your belly, not a comfortable experience, that's for sure. And unfortunately, because horses are big eating machines, if colic is bad enough, and we're not sure with Bugsy whether or not it is right now, we're in kind of this holding pattern. We'll see. But she, if her colic is so bad that she's impacted and she can't process her food and it just sits in her stomach, it can be her stomach can be very, very bloated. You can see here. This is probably not what y'all wanted tonight, but I really can't show it too good. But her stomach is certainly not doing very well. It's doing that. So we're hoping that she gets through this. But colic can kill a horse, and that's kind of why you're out here, because if it's a deadly thing, that's what happens with them. So it's really serious. But Bugsy's a trooper. I think we'll be all right. So let's see. Any kind of equine laxative type thing. Yeah, exactly. Well, two things. Number one, you can give them. Uh, it's called celiac, I think, is what it is, and it's a thing you can give them, a food additive you can give them that takes that sand, and it's like a gel, and it goes into their belly and binds the sand to this gel, and you can then it'll help it pass because it gets it out of their system that way. It becomes like a ball, something they can get rid of, other than just sit there like a sand at the bottom of a fish tank. Horses have a fair amount of sand, and they can have rocks in their stomach, and it doesn't necessarily bother them because the rocks, or what are called enteroliths, actually chew up the hay, helps them digest. So, like I said, we're hoping for Bugsy to be healthy and not be in a lot of pain. We try to keep them out of pain because as you guys know, when you're not feeling well and your stomach gets kind of bloated and they call it discomfort, but it's just freaking pain. Kazi, what's happening? Greetings and welcome. But yeah, you can give them celiac. We gave them kind of the horse Metamucil about a few hours ago. It takes a long time to get through their system. The trick is whether or not it's going to be sufficient enough to break down the barrier. It's what's called being impacted. They just can't go because there's a block. And if you can get it fixed, then or dissolved and things go on, then everybody will be fine. But if you can't, we have some other choices that we have to make. None of them are good. So, anyway, Happy New Year to you, Kazi, brother. This show brought to you by Dickies. We were just talking about the kind of the ludicrousy of, I'm seeing things that the idiots on YouTube are saying, like I don't know, you guys heard the one about I was sleeping with Russ Pool's wife. That was a fun one. I'm sure that Megan would get a kick out of that, but I'm almost afraid to even share that because it's just so below anybody's good taste. But that was a funny one. Again, the big one about there's such a mountain of evidence against Keefe D that the attorneys are running and all for time to prepare. That's not the case at all. I mean, when you send a subpoena in a court case, especially in a criminal case, when you send a subpoena, somebody gets it, they have a certain amount of time or by a certain court date to respond to it. And that could be a month or 2 months. So it does you no good if you got a case in 30 days to get a subpoena that takes somebody 45 days to respond to. They're given that much time, especially if they have to produce documents, they got to go get them. You got to give them a reasonable amount of time to get those things done. So when we're asking for, I don't I'm talking about metaphorically, we as in the me and the mouse in my pocket. If I was suing somebody or having a criminal case and you got to send out subpoenas to get documents or get information, it can take that. And the people that get the subpoenas actually have the opportunity to resist and or go to court. And then you have to actually go in front of the judge and compel them to produce something and that kind of game playing. So it's kind of stupid to think that, if you have a case a month away and you're just getting around to sending out subpoenas, that you're going to get them back in time. And there's a lot of information that needs to be collected. Another misconception that people have is that you can actually have a something that's on the internet used in court as evidence. And the reality is that you can't. You can't use those things. They're called out of court or what's it called? Extrajudicial statements. So if Vlad says something on Vlad TV or so and so says something on, that might even help a KFD case or help somebody it's an extra, it's not made in court. So you might be able to subpoena it, but it's really up to the judge to decide whether or not, just because somebody said something, that you can use it as evidence in court. And I think that shocks a lot of people, because everybody's like, oh, so and so said this in a YouTube video, and it's his words, so he must have said it. Well, that actually applies to Keefe D too. The things he said in YouTube and stuff like that, not necessarily an automatic slam dunk in terms of admissibility, because there's a lot of reasons that it may not be admissible. But the other thing about it is that other people's admissions, and I kind of learned this the hard way, because I was like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And Mike Pandulo is a great attorney. He was got to spend New Year's Eve with him. It was fun. He was explaining to me that, just because somebody says something on YouTube doesn't necessarily mean it's a slam dunk to get it into court. It has to be, there are certain like conditions, like it has to be material, it has to be, somehow vetted, and just there's a whole lot that goes into it, and it is not a slam dunk like, hey, let's just bring in all these YouTube videos. I can do that in a documentary, and that it's all fine and do all that, but it doesn't work that way in court. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to introduce out of court evidence. Let's see here. What's up? What's happening, Jason Hahn? What's going on? We're for all you catching up on the channel. We are actually with my horse. That's Bugs, and she's not feeling well tonight, so I got to get out to stay in the stall with her for a little bit to check to see if she's going to make any progress towards feeling better. Right now, I think she's half asleep. Are you half asleep? Yeah, you're kind of half asleep there. But I figured I'd take the time to just hook up with the knuckleheads and say, hey, what's happening? How are things? How things going on? And answer some questions. Dre Hahn says, because I really don't have much of an agenda, something to talk about, but I did want to mention the fact that there's a lot of stupid shit out there right now. Question: can any grand jury testimony be brought in court? Yes, yes. That's one of the things that can be brought up in court, and other things can be used to challenge that testimony as well. So, Denvonta Lee, for example, can be challenged and brought in as a witness, and whether or not the state brings them in as a witness, the defense can actually decide whether or not they're going to use that person. Hold on a second. You doing okay? You doing all right, girl? You okay? I know. It's not comfortable. I know. I get it. It's all right. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Can you bring grand jury testimony? Yeah. Denvonta Lee, perfect example, gave grand jury testimony. And what's amazing is if you read the motion to suppress the evidence from the search warrant, one of the attorneys, and we read it on a live stream, you can go watch it. You can go watch it. We read through it. The attorney makes a great point about the fact that Vegas just relies that everything that Keefe D said was true. And I think even Kading, to some degree, just relies on everything that Keefe said being like accurate and factual. Well, if that's the case, Keefe D never said that Big Dre was the shooter. Keefe D always said in his book and his testimony and all that, he said that Orlando Anderson was the shooter. He never said Big Dre was the shooter. And what's interesting about that is that Vegas, who wants you to believe that everything Keefe D said was true, actually presented Devonta Lee to the grand jury, and Devonta Lee said, no, Dre did the shooting, not Orlando Anderson. So, it's those kind of things, and that's why the grand jury testimony is important to bring in, because clearly, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's mentioned at the hearing on Tuesday about it, that that even Vegas is just telling you, expecting that the judge take Keefe D at his word, that they should believe everything that Keefe D says. You gonna lay down, girl? You gonna lay down? Let's see. Sorry if I seem a bit distracted. Okay, I don't want to be in your butt. You gonna lay down? See? You get about laying. You're just turning around because you're not comfortable. I get it. The last place you want to be is behind a horse if they decide that they're going to get rid of whatever problem is bothering them in their stomach, right? You do not want to be behind a horse. True. So move around. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, there she goes. There she goes. She's going to lay down now. It's okay. We'll see what she does. There she is. That's my girl. So let's see. Let's see. Question: Is there going to be any medical records for Orlando Anderson going to the hospital? I think that there are some possibilities. I know there's going to be something of a discussion of his condition. I mean, why wouldn't there be? But I can't say for sure because I wouldn't be able to tell you if there was. But I think that it's pretty common knowledge that he had some sort of problem with his shoulders. So, why wouldn't you look into that? I mean, that's just kind of the way I'm looking at it. What are you doing there, bud? Yeah, you ever had one of those nights where you just can't get comfortable no matter how you slept? This is that's kind of what's going on here. Have to make it work. But anyway, yeah, there will be some medical records there, I'm sure, but that'll be brought up. Why? And again, why wouldn't it be? Anyway, well, listen, I just wanted to check in real quick with you all. Short stream, but definitely wanted to reach out to you all. Wish you a happy New Year, the happiest of New Years. We're going to get this party started. The attorneys are lining up on January 6th, with this Tuesday, and we'll be with you to report out on the results of the hearing regarding the motion to suppress evidence from the search warrant that was issued against KVD. And be questioned whether or not that moves the ball down the field. We'll find out. But wanted to just check in with y'all while I had a moment, tell you that I was thinking about you, and look forward to seeing you on the next live stream. Meanwhile, I got a horsey girl I got to take care of. So we'll see you guys later, and enjoy your weekend.